Simon, what's the worst policy initiative you've heard so far from the electioneering?
You want an apple?
With GST or without?
You got me. It's got a sticker on too.
Welcome, I'm Heather Roy.
And I'm Simon Ewing-Jarvie. Welcome.
I find this whole thing about GST or fruit and vegetables a pretty sad topic, really, and I'm a bit devastated that we're having to commit a whole episode of our podcasts to the removal of GST, or talking about the removal of GST from fruit and vegetables. And it's sad for me at a whole range of levels. Firstly, our GST system is really effective because it's simple, and anything that distorts that I don't think should be even thought about. But scrambling about for policies that people think will make a difference, we've got this on the agenda again. Previously it was only New Zealand First who were campaigning on this at previous elections, but now everybody seems to be joining the bandwagon except National and ACT.
I see Damien Grant had an article on Sunday on it.
He wrote a really good article. It explains very well, and his basic premise was that people just don't really understand how GST works. It's not for consumers, it's actually for businesses, way of taxing them. Yeah.
So your apple, his example was your apple that costs $5.99 in the shop includes GST, but if you take the GST off, it doesn't mean it'll be 15% cheaper.
No, that's right. So if the apples cost $5 a kilo to buy and they're being sold at $5.99, then there's only GST being paid by the supermarket on 99 cents. And those costs are never going to be passed on to consumers. So those people that political parties say they're trying to help, the less well off, are going to have a minuscule, if any, reduction in the cost of their fruit and vegetables. And it will distort the whole tax system. Yeah,
so it's all well and good to think about the 15% at the retail or the point of sale, but what about everything else in the supply chain? So there's GST applied from the tractor, the tractor driving around the orchard all the way through to getting that apple with or without its little sticky thing on it onto the shelves. Yeah.
The yummy apple sticker.
So there's been no talk about that.
No, none at all about supply chain. It's just about supermarkets are fleecing us. And that GST cost on fruit and vegetables, which people assume is the full retail cost, should be passed on to the consumer. Well, that's a very simplistic and naive way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I noticed he mentioned that Te Pāti Maori said quite sensibly didn't release their workings.
He did. This is what he said. It really made me laugh when I read this paragraph. When Te Pāti Maori claim that the policy of removing GST on all food will cost $3.4 billion, they're looking at the total retail cost of food and taking 15% off that, assuming the policy will be applied via zero rating, possibly. They wisely, meaning Te Pāti Maori, didn't release their workings.
There's a whole lot of fish hooks in it. I know from having helped people with their point of sale systems in years gone by that they're going to have to recode everything in their system. So that's basically you're running dual accounting systems. Well, not dual is probably a bit harsh, but you're going to actually have to change the coding for a product, the PLU, to ensure that it doesn't have GST applied, and presumably then your return, all those things are going to have to go into the exempt or zero rated basket.
And I don't want to be an apologist for the supermarkets, but what happens to the poor checkout person who pushes the wrong button by mistake and inadvertently adds GST onto fruit and vegetables? Are they then going to be prosecuted? I mean, it is ridiculous, really.
Yeah, boot camp probably.
Yeah.
I was just thinking also back to way back when I did an undergraduate degree in business, so we did a bit of marketing, a bit of psychology, and there's a thing called just noticeable difference and Weber's law, and basically what this works is that if the price change that you're working on or the packaging size that you're working on is negative, you want to make sure that the change is just below the threshold at which the customer will notice it. Everyone's noticing that blocks of chocolate and all that sort of thing are slowly getting smaller, but the price isn't.
Yes.
And if your change is positive, you want it to be big enough to be noticed without being extravagant and costing you too much money. So you want to announce the positive changes and hide the negative. And that psychological phenomenon known as just noticeable difference is established in focus groups. So I'll give you a practical example. A friend of mine had a retail operation, and every week he'd choose 10 items from inside the shop and he would put them up by 10%. And he would keep putting them up by 10% and watch the sales volume until the sales volume plateaued. Then what he would do he would have established where the just noticeable difference was. He would then special those products and take them back to a special price for a week, so people would go, oh yeah, crunchy bars are cheap again. They were getting quite expensive. Then he would take them back to the price point just 1 point below where the noticeable difference occurred. And he'd just start with another 10 products, and he did that continuously.
And that doesn't breach the Fair Trading Act?
I don't know.
Right. So who's going to benefit most? We should always consider this. Who's going to benefit most from taking GST off fruit and vegetables?
What do you think?
I think it's the wealthy. They buy more. They buy the more expensive ones, and so they will benefit the most in terms of savings.
Yeah.
And for the reasons that we've already discussed, I think those people who are really struggling are going to make minimal change because they can afford fewer products.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many fish. Is it processed versus unprocessed? I know they talk about fresh food and veg. So, whole foods. Does a cooked chicken cease being a whole food? Yeah.
For me, it's pineapple. You go into the supermarket, and when you don't have full pineapples, they're often chopped up and put into plastic containers so that you buy just a portion of a pineapple. Now, that's been processed in one way because it's been chopped up.
Yep.
So will that have GST included or not?
I don't think the whole thing's a mess.
It is.
And do you think Labour will go there? You know, because we had, was it Nicola Willis claiming that she had a leak from the Labour caucus saying that they were going to go there, as Damien refers to it as their MacGuffin moment.
Yeah. I suspect not. I think they were probably thinking seriously about it. But I think Grant Robertson probably recognised that it was going to bring very little extra money into the coffers and have little impact on those at the margins. But look, their thunder's been stolen, not just by Nicola Willis, but New Zealand First, Party Maori and the Green Party, who are all campaigning on it.
Yep.
So I doubt that we're going to see it from Labour. They'll go somewhere else.
And the parties that are in favour of the no GST on food is they're claiming that they'll make the gap up in government revenue through other taxes. But I guess we can talk about wealth taxes and capital gains and all that in another episode.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cool. You've got a quote for us?
No, I haven't. An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah, and the taxman, it would appear. Okay, well, that's it from us. That wasn't our best joke. And if you want to send in a question that we can include in the audience questions episodes, just go to the contacts page on our website, torquepoint.co.nz. That's TORQUE point.
And we're also on LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter. You can send us messages via those channels too.
Yep, that's great. I'm Simon Ewing-Jarvie.
And I'm Heather Roy. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.